Hey everybody, Tom Vassell, and welcome to Live Q&A with me at September 30th, 2019. And so this is a weekly Q&A that people do here, probably anyone else. Next Monday, I'll be joined by Sharon Madden, who is the director of Dice Tower East. Since Dice Tower East will be going live in a week and a day on the 8th of October. So keep an eye out for that. We hope you come and join us. It's going to be fantastic. And we'll be announcing different about Dice Tower East as the week goes by. All right, so questions from me here. We'll take them. I don't answer every question that comes across my desk here, but I try to answer as many of them as I can, or at least ones I find interesting and different and unique and unusual. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask it, and I'll jump into those. A few games over the weekend. Had a good weekend. I put a lot of let me rephrase that. I did a lot of not board games over the weekend, so I relaxed some too over the weekend and just had a good day. We're getting close to Essen, obviously. It's 4 weeks from tomorrow, I think, is when Essen starts. So 3 more weeks here of normality, which I'm absolutely fine with because we have a lot of different games to go over and things to do. So I'm just waiting for questions at this point. The feed is stuttering. We were worried about that when we started here, that the feed would not as smooth through multiple computers. So Otter says, countdown to Essen, yay. I don't disagree. How many of those masks from the top 10 did you already own? Oh, I already owned all of them. Masks than that, actually. So I just picked 10 I thought would be interesting to bring in. I don't know that I own that many more. I probably own a total of 20 masks. All right, the feed is choppy. We'll do our best to see what we can do about that and fix it, and we'll work on it as time goes by. We'll see. Will there be a review for the new War of the Worlds game? It looks pretty cool. Possibly. I can never promise the review of anything except for, what I'm reviewing this week. I know for sure. Other than that, all bets are off. So what we did last Friday, which I was pretty happy about, we came and we cleaned the whole studio out. My wife came in to help. We did deep cleaning of just so it's clean. But we also got rid of games that have been sitting around forever and things. It's a much more organized system now. So I can look there, and on that shelf over there are games I'm reviewing the week. On the shelves, there's 2 shelves there of games that I'll be reviewing soon. Over here are games that I can't wait to play. And in another room are games that we're going to play. Not as excited, but they're there. And we organized everything. Z and Sam's studio is going to be changed. You'll see that starting with their videos this week. There's going to be some differences there. Let me see here. Oh, back talk again? No, we didn't do back talk on Friday because we were doing the cleaning. It wasn't scheduled. Well, I guess it was scheduled, but we dropped it because I didn't mean to schedule it. It was an accident because we were doing it. Is it a pain to have to go back and obtain games from the library that you used to have? In particular, I saw you recently added Rolling Freight. Why would you have gotten rid of Rolling Freight? Well, I got rid of Rolling Freight because I was keeping a lean and tight library for myself. So I only have so many room for games. So I didn't keep it. My collection now is extremely small. I think I'm down to, not counting kids games. Okay, so if I take kids games out of the bunch, I think I'm down to maybe 30 games in my personal collection. But since I own the Dice Tower library, there's that. So that's just why I got rid of Rolling Freight. It wasn't as much of a pain to get it back because I just asked Ape Games if I could have a copy for the Dice Tower library, and they were very generous and provided one. We have almost every game that I think should be in the library is in the library, and new ones will be added. Today I'm actually going to be visiting the library. I'm going to be doing that on a weekly basis and going in there and just working in it. For one thing, I really like doing it. But for another, I'm planning to go in and start looking at some games and say, should this game be in the library? We may do some cuts. When will we do our top 100 of 2019? I don't know if I'm going to do my favorite 100 games of 2019. I suspect what you actually meant was, when are we doing the next top 100 list? And I can tell you now, that will be in January. How it's going to happen, the specifics of it, I'm not sure yet, but we thought that would be a fun thing to do while our Kickstarter was running. What are your thoughts on a game like Time of Legends Destiny, an app-driven narrative game that seems to be closer to an RPG than a traditional board game? It sounds really cool, but I would have to play it to see how it works. What is your favorite Marvel Legendary Hero team-ups? I don't really know. I mean, I just play with various people. I guess I could say this was a cool team-up that I did. I know that I really like playing with 4 Fantastic Four people together. I don't know what it is. I think it's just, I think they combo pretty well together. Other than that, I'll just take anybody, really. I don't care. Tom, you, Z, and Sam seem like equal partners when you make videos together, but do you take more of a boss manager role behind the scenes? Well, that's kind of a... so let me see. So, yes. Come to the Dice Tower. I'm the president of Dice Tower, and I make pretty much all the major decisions for Dice Tower. Sam and Z are my employees. Everyone else works for me, and at the end of the day, final decisions. That does not mean I don't take what people say into account. I certainly listen to it. There's certainly can be pushback and feedback and things, and I love that. On camera, though, when it comes to us going back and forth, I've always made it clear that they can say what they want in that regard. Like Sam could be like, "That's an idiotic opinion to me." Like, think about your job. No, there's none of that. So on camera, yes, we're completely equal. But when it comes to then yes, I'm in charge of the Dice Tower. With Sam's departure coming, will he still be on the cruise coming up? Well, he has a room on the cruise. It all depends on how the transition happens with him going and stuff. Will the studio get decorated for Halloween? Will anyone be present to defend it against trick-or-treaters? Well, where the studio is, we will not get treaters. This is not a big neighborhood where people walk by this place, so it just won't happen here. And I probably won't decorate it. I don't even decorate my house for Halloween. Barely decorate it for Christmas. Just not a huge decorate. I decorate on the inside. I know it's weird, right? But I've always, like, I'll get strings of lights inside the house because I want to see the lights. So we just go around the house and I flash them on and off, and we like that. At night, we turn off the lights and just have Christmas lights and the Christmas tree, of course. And I even got those laser light things that you splash in the house, and I did those one year, and then we did them inside the house. My son liked it so much that that's now his night light at night, where he has red and green lights just going across the ceiling in patterns, and he loves it. So. I could take Sam's spot when he departs and get a new video editor. I think that he would work awesome with the UNZ and Top 10's back talk. Well, you'll probably see more of Roy as time goes by. We'll announce our plans. Still working on that for when Sam leaves. It's a little bit, you know, it's kind of tough to talk about that while Sam is still here anyway. But I'm still working on what I'm going to do. You'll see. We'll announce it. I have some ideas and some things, but I need to congeal on those. Since Sam's not leaving closer to the end of the year, he might leave earlier, but if he doesn't leave till the end of the year, I still kind of go about what this is. I'll say Roy is great on camera for sure, but Roy is an amazing video editor, and I wouldn't want to lose that. Will you talk about the games you've taken out of the library, like your edition segment? Maybe. I don't know. That's more of a negative segment, and I get it. I don't know that I would want to deal with the person who would say, "Oh, why did you take the library? I was planning on playing." I'll say, "Well, no one's ever checked it out of the library." I don't know that I want to do that per se. Maybe, but I doubt it. Will there be a Sunday church service on the cruise with us being at port? I really enjoyed it last, but don't want to miss port. Super early service. Well, it will be an service, and if you go to port and skip it, that's up to you. You know, it's done. It will be shorter because of that, but. I wonder if the question overlay program is going to feed issues. It's possible. We're going to test it next week without these and see what happens. Have you read the Wheel of Time series, or is it on your to-read list? Are you interested in watching the show on Amazon when it premieres? I don't know about... Okay, well, let me start. First of all, yes, I've read the Wheel of Time series multiple times. And the reason I read it multiple times is because Mr. Jordan was very slow about getting the books out. So slow, in fact, that he passed away before he finished. But I would forget the new book was... Oh, they're about to be released, and I'd say, well, oh, man, I can't remember what's going on in this series, and I'd have to read it over again. I'm kind of interested in the show on Amazon, but this is one of those times where I really hope that the show on Amazon deviates from the books. Because in the books, people were constantly yelling at each other. There's just this constant infighting, especially as men thought women were annoying and women thought men were stupid, and this was a concept that was ad nauseum. If Robert Jordan had cut out every time a woman crossed her arms and thought that a man was being stupid, and a man complaining to another man about how women he couldn't understand them at all, if he had cut that, I think he would have been a whole book shorter. It's probably an exaggeration, but no one likes anyone. Everyone was superior to everybody else. He ever gives anyone information, cool stuff, cool story, cool background, but man, they made most of the characters fairly unlikable, especially the Aes Sedai, or however you pronounce it. They made almost all of them just to the point where when everything bad happened to them, I was sitting there going, good, you deserve it. Ugh. Even Rand got annoying as time went by. The only person who seemed to stay consistently likable was Perrin, and Matt maybe a little, and what's her name, the one who saw visions. But just as, I don't know, I wouldn't mind if they cut that out. I've seen a third card Uno game as a Happy Meal. What games could have a Happy Meal version? Well, lots of basically any game that is a pocket-sized game. I mean, Love Letter could have been in a Happy Meal. Would you consider yourself a Knizia fan? Why or why not? He's a very, very nice guy. Very fun to talk to. I don't know that I would consider myself a fan of his, though, because while I love quite a few of his games, actually, I find that if you say a game is a Knizia game, that doesn't mean I'm interested in it at all. I just opened a game up today for an unboxing, and I was like, oh, Knizia. If it's a small game, it might be good, it might not be. I don't know. This is funny. It says, have you heard of the game Tang Gardens? From Fun, the Kickstarter is finally getting ready to ship to backers over a year after backing it. Annoying. A year? Most games take a year. I think some games have come out didn't Madara this year when it came out? It was like 5 years after people had backed it. I think you're fine. Would you play Space Base with the expansion included with new players? You know what? I don't, actually. I just played Space Base twice in the past month with new people who never played it before. And sometimes I was like, I'm going to pull out the expansion. And so I did when I played with them. How well does Awkward Guest play with 6? It plays fine with 6, although I think I prefer it at 4 and 5 best. If you play the electronic version of a game that's on your shelf of shame, what does that remove the game from your shelf of shame? Well, first of all, I'd like to be clear. I don't have a shelf of shame. And by that I mean, yes, I have probably as many games as anyone else does. There needs to be played thing. I don't feel ashamed about it. There's a gazillion games out there. Also, I didn't buy the games. They were sent to me by the company. If I buy the game, I guess then if I don't play it, then I would feel ashamed about it. And I have things that, I guess I got a couple video games on my shelf of shame. I bought a few video games Switch that I haven't touched yet because I started playing Breath of the Wild again. And, well, but I don't know. You decide of that. I don't know if I like the whole shelf of shame thing. What's Ryan Metzler to? Any more reviews from him in the future? Probably not, actually. I haven't heard from him in a while. I know he still plays games, and he's gaming on a somewhat consistent basis, but I know that his new job, he was very busy with that, so. See a lot of people complaining about the feed. So will you watch the new Joker film? I don't know. I'm thinking I won't. I might when it comes out in video. I'm not going to go see it in the theater, that's for sure. But then again, I see very few videos in the theater, movies in the theater. The Dark Knight Returns, I thought that I watched it and thought it was a good movie, but it was very draining for me to watch the Joker. He was so evil and vicious and did terrible things. I almost felt, when I was done, I felt exhausted. I don't know when I watch another movie about that. I like movies where there's a hero I can cheer for. And in Batman Returns, I guess Batman was the hero, kind of. But the bad guy, I don't know. I don't necessarily get joy in bad guys be bad. I'm a new follower, and I see that many of the games reviewed over time are no longer available. In the newer top 10 or top 100 type of videos, can you call out if the games are out of print? No, I mean, we might say it, but I'm never quite sure if a game's in print or out of print at any given moment. And, you know, and that also is very confusing if you watch the top 100 later on. I'll be like, well, this game's out of print, this one's in. And that's completely wrong for that period of time. So probably not. I understand the annoyance about that, but that's why you can also watch current reviews to see what is in print right now. Do you schedule time with each of your kids, take them out, and specifically spend a while with them? Well, I think I mentioned this before. Each week, my wife and I take out one kid out to eat, just that one kid. And I also bring my kids into work with me one day a week. Each of my kids, not all of them, but several of them, bring them in and spend time with them in the car and stuff. Have you watched the Dark Crystal series on Netflix? It was amazing, especially if you were a fan of these movies. Well, I never saw the 80s movie, and I watched the first 10 minutes of Crystal, and I really was bored to tears by it. So maybe, I know I'm going to get the people that say, but it gets better. But I like Muppets when they're being funny and singing and stuff like that. I like the Muppet Show, but this, it was taking itself very seriously, and I found it annoying. Maybe I'll watch more of it as time goes on. I don't watch a ton of stuff anyway. Am I weird for not wanting to buy English expansions when my version of the main game is in another language? I don't know what game we're talking about. I don't think that's weird. Do you ever feel like you should get a game when it goes on sale that might look good? Sure. I would like to see a top 10 Kickstarters. Oh, we've done one of those already. We'll probably do one again, but we've definitely done one. What's my favorite romantic date board game? A romantic theme or mechanism? I don't know that I would even... I don't have an answer for you there, because for me, a romance doesn't have to be romantic. If I want to watch a romantic movie with my wife, it doesn't have to be a movie about romance. It could be a Marvel superhero movie. I don't know that I would, if we could just play a, that's a romantic night, I guess. But it wouldn't have to be about romance. Do you have any tips to improve one's memory? A lot, but I forgot them all. Hypothetically, if Ju was a real game, it was exactly like the movie, would it be considered a true semi-cooperative game? Wasn't it a cooperative game? They were all trying to win together. I don't think they were trying to leave anyone else behind. It was a cooperative game. Have you done Dice Tower camera tech equipment video in the past? No, but I think at the beginning of the year we'll do a go around the office. This is what the studio looks like. Just what it's like behind the scene at the Dice Towers. We'll probably do something along that line. Are there any good board games on the horizon that you know about but haven't got too much press yet? Any dark horses you can talk about? Well, no, not really. I mean, I don't consider it that way. If I find a great game, I'll talk about it, regardless of who published it. You know, so if I just from a new publisher on Saturday, which I was astounded by how much I enjoyed it. It was their first game, and it was fantastic. And you're probably saying, what's that? And the name is slipping my mind. But the game itself was a lot of fun, and I'm sure I will be reviewing that in a couple weeks. The Witcher 3 is on Switch now. I never played any of the Witcher games. You should open a board game library. I agree. I have. And you can come play it on Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower West, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower Retreat. I have not yet played Gloomhaven on Steam. I plan to. Tangarn is a year past its promised delivery date. Oh. Well, it still, again, kind of pales behind a lot of games are a year. I don't even put any stock in the delivery date. I back a game, but when I back a game, I act as if that money is gone forever. And then if I get the game later on, woo! If I don't, well, that sucks. But, you know, hopefully it works out. I do use the thing on Kickstarter and keep track of which games I've gotten, and once in a while I'll go back and look at the projects that I've backed and say, wait, I got this, and go check on it. Maybe I missed the pledge manager, which is easy to do. Maybe I missed, but I think that's the best way to deal with Kickstarter. What's the best way for my son to get into reading comics if he likes movies? There are so many spanning so many years. Yeah, there really are. I'd pick a series maybe and start with that. So I just reread the Avengers Disassembled, and that leads right into the House of M storyline, and that's just a really good storyline. That's one of my top 10 Marvel storylines. I almost consider it to be the same comic event, even though Avengers Disassembled. Now, Avengers Disassembled, House of M, they're like two sides of the same coin. And pick one of those. Marvel also does 1.1 issues, or they'll do something 0.1. If there's ever 0.1, that's a jumping point in. So let's say you want to read Spider-Man, you pick one of the Spider-Man series and pick a 0.1 version of it and start from there. That's what I might do. Pick an event and read. Although some of these events have a lot of build-up to them, I'm trying to think of one that you could read without a lot of build-up to it. And seeing the characters in the past, I might pick Civil War. That's one of my favorites for sure. But I might just pick one of the series and start with number one of that series and just follow through on it. We had a really discussion when we were in Iceland with someone who's written some comics, and they were talking about how reading comics is a very unique skill. When you look at a comic and you're basically looking at a picture and reading, and your eyes are moving on the page and stuff, and for some people, like for me, it's kind of like that I am following the story and it's there, and it doesn't work for everybody, and some people do better just reading a book. Because I was talking about how my kids love the Marvel movies a lot. I get my kids really into comics, but they find it okay. They like to read, but they're not big comic fans. And of course, it doesn't help that Marvel has made their universe so convoluted, that it's really hard to get into and stay track of. That I sometimes am like, wait, what? Who's this character again? So. Do your kids get new school clothes even though they're homeschooled? No. They get new clothes when they need them. But why would I buy them new clothes because it's a new school year? I think that I've always hated that tradition anyway. You get clothes when you need them. Why would you get new? Well, whatever. I mean, they tend to get closed around that time of year because in Florida, there's a weekend where there's no taxes on clothes. And then all the stores have sales. So, yes, that tends to be there. What's the next fad going to be? Don't know. If I did, I would be way ahead of the curve on it. With Deep Blue from Days of Wonder not being a game on par with their classic games, and the River last year also being subpar as Days of Wonder lost its magic. I don't know that I would say they've lost their magic. And again, I wasn't a big fan of the Deep Blue, but I've seen a lot of the reviewers have enjoyed it. So just because I'm not a big fan doesn't mean it's subpar. Although I will say that Z Garcia agrees with me on my opinion on it. But they're still doing some pretty solid stuff. The only reason people say they lost their magic is because they do fewer games, right? And that's the thing. If you do fewer games, then that game you better knock it out of the park with that game. Like Renegade has a lot of games that are not that great, but because they do a lot of good games too, people don't think the same thing about them. You need to watch at least a full episode of Dark Crystal. Then if you don't like it, I understand. Well, sure. But again, I don't know that I need to watch a full episode of anything. There's hundreds of TV shows that I don't watch full episodes of. I just don't have the time. It's a big week in my other nerd obsession, pro wrestling. Any pro wrestling games you'd recommend? There was a decent one made by, oh man, I can't remember the name of it. Nine, I think, made one. So it was fine. I don't know if they ever added more wrestlers to it. It's a big week. Isn't the big stuff from pro wrestling like earlier in the year? The Royal Rumble's in January, and then everything leads to WrestleMania. But they add some different things. I don't know. SummerSlam. I know like a big event, a pay-per-view event all the time now. So, but I haven't followed wrestling in a long time. What do you think about Adventures of Marco Polo 2? Specifically, that's more of a variant than a new game. I don't know much more about it, so we'll have to look into it and see. Was it a cooperative game? I thought they each had pawns and only one person won. Jumanji again. Yeah, sure, but once one person won, the game was over, and it seemed like everybody won. They just had to finish the game. I don't know that, like, yes, the rules were you had to finish the game, but I don't think there was a winner and or loser. They all were very happy because everything went back to normal. Did you ever make your own king card with the plain white cards from Dominion? No, you know what? I never make any cards with the plain white cards from a deck. The only thing I did was way back in the day, apples to apples, I bought cards that you could run through a printer, and I made my own custom apples to apples cards. I also made custom Time's Up cards, which I have since made even more so by making them on the Kickstarter, but that's about it. Tom, how have you done different style over the years? Do you deliberately read lists of famous leaders, or do you generally try to be a good person to go from there? Sure, I like to read a lot about the subject, you know. I'm a very flawed individual, as most people are, I suppose. So I listen. I know I make a lot of mistakes, and I try not to make a lot of mistakes. I know I'm going to continue to make mistakes, so hopefully I can learn from those. I've often thought back to bad bosses that I've had in the past and say I don't want to be like them, but it's possible, right? Good morning. They said I kind of last year with some friends for the first time. I know you from the channel, but they did not. We found you to be really pleasant, funny morning, as opposed to at night when you were a jerk. No, I just have to wake in the mornings, I guess. Got a 23-hour flight alone coming up. Any solo games you can recommend that play well on a tray table? That is, I am not the person for that. Mike DeLisio would probably be better for answering for that. I would not play any board game that long on a tray table. That's where I would say, get a Switch or an iPad. Tom, how do you approach meeting new people at your conventions? Is there a game plan? I know early things are good vassal time. I just try to go around and talk to everybody. I guess this is a follow-up my board game breakfast today, but you know, I just want to go around and talk to as many people as I can. You know, eventually I'll sit down and play a game with people, but I like to go around and make sure everyone's having a good time, and I like to go and wander the nooks and crannies of the convention and just see. And you know, I'll meet people, and I always feel really bad, and I'll be like, is this your first convention? They'll be like, I've come to 6 of them. I'm like, oh no. You know, but yeah, I want people to feel welcome and that they're having a great time. Let's see here. With so many games, how do you remember the rules of games you played? I have a hard time doing so, and I usually have to look them up. But once I look it up, I'll be like, oh yeah, right, I remember how this game plays. But yes, I will pull out the rule book almost for any game that I haven't played, that I've played before, even if I'm teaching it again. There are a few games I know by heart. I know Sheriff of Nottingham backwards and forwards. I know Ticket to Ride. You know, I know Space Base these days. I know pretty well. But most games, I'm going to look up something for sure. Can you explain to us with Sam? No, just to clarify, this keeps coming up. I guess maybe we'll have to put like a news story up on this, but Sam Healy is leaving the Dice Tower, not because there's anything bad between me and Sam. Sam is great. We're having a good time. But because of family issues, he has to move. He's moved. And a year, so he's looking for another thing, because for what Sam does here, I need that thing done with us in the studio. So he's just looking for something else. And you'll still probably see him occasionally on the Dice Tower channel, and that's pretty much the extent of it. Since we're entering a new decade, have you thought of going to do a top 100 games of the 2010s? Interesting. Maybe I will next year. That's not a bad idea. Although really, if we do our top 100, then you'll just go through that and go until you get to the top 10 there. So I don't know. Are you making a video about games you are keen to see at Essen? We are. Let me pull up my schedule here. I have a schedule that I put together for each month here. So this week on Thursday, our top 10 is going to be our top 10 abstract strategy games. That's October 2nd. October 9th, we will be doing our October 10th, I'm sorry. October 3rd, I'm sorry, is the top 10 abstract games. October 10th, we'll be doing our top 10 hilarious games, games that make us laugh. October 17th, we'll be doing our top 10 upcoming games from Essen 2019. October 26th, we will not be doing a top 10 because we'll be at Essen itself. And then after that, October 31st, we'll be doing our top 10 holiday games. So there's some upcoming stuff for you. Let's see. How demanding, difficult, satisfying is it to run Dice Tower? What would be one big change you would make or not? Well, if I would make a big change, I would make the change, right? It is demanding and difficult. It's a great, rewarding thing. Don't get me wrong. I really like it. When other people's lives are on the line, you know, people, there's a lot of things and juggling everything. So, for example, when I came into work today, I sit there and go, okay, I need to make sure that the Dice Tower podcast is ready for Eric to edit, because he's doing that tonight and that goes up tomorrow. I need to make sure that's ready. I need to do the look back video for Roy because it takes longer to edit that, and that goes up Wednesday. I need to get that up sooner than later. I had a top 10 list for Chris to edit because that needs to go up this week too. So I've already done those things today. I've also finished a boring unboxed some things when I came in the morning, and then I talked to the other guys about various different things that were going on. And then I'm doing this live Q&A here. So that's all stuff that I've done so far today. I've also had a conversation on the phone with Lindsay, who's the marketing manager for Dice Tower, and talked about different marketing things. I talked to Sharon Madden I had a conversation with her talking about Dice Tower East and different things that are going on with that. I did a little bit checking of emails, which is something I do consistently all throughout the day, and I have a lot more of that to do. And I talked to Holly about organizing some games in the Dice Tower studio that needs to be done. So that's what I've done so far up to this point in time. But more things I need to do today. I'm going to review 4 games. I see them sitting right here. There are 4 games that are going to be reviewed. One goes up Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, and 1 on Thursday. I'm going to do a little bit of prep for tomorrow for our Testing Tuesday, get it ready for that. I need to talk to Kenny about some various things for upcoming events that the Dice Tower is doing. I need to consistently work on some more emails and things. Somewhere in there, I'll eat lunch. And then I'm going to be working in the Dice Tower library and prepping that for our next event as time goes by. I also need to be looking into Dice Tower Retreat, some of the information about that for next year. And Dice Tower West, there's a couple things I need to do for that. So that's a Monday, right? That's Monday going around. And the guys want to get a game in today too, and maybe. Right. Now, that's a Monday, and that's a typical Monday. I'm getting ready for the week and preparing. And this is a slower week. I know, slow, because next week, you know, like as we get closer to Essen, I would be doing the same thing, but instead of 4 board game reviews in one day, I'd probably be doing 8 because I'm doing 4 for this week and 4 next week. So there's a little bit of that going on. All right. How's Chief Sokotoa doing? Well, you spelled his name wrong. It's S-O-H-C-A-O-T. I'm sorry, S-O-H-C-A-H-T-O-A. Sokotoa. Anyhow, he's doing fine. We just actually talked yesterday because there was some ramifications of the pretzel revolt, which I know sounds a lot like pretzel, which caused the problems because one of the ambassadors saw us eating some pretzels and it caused this whole big thing. And apologies were made and insultings and things like that. But eventually it got worked out. But it was kind of one of those long, truncated processes. And, you know, just one of the problems that you have multiple cultures from multiple dimensional universes collide. But Sokotoa is a master at making these things work. And I've always hated him because of that. Are you reviewing the new Minecraft board game Build? I have not heard of it now. Maybe. Listen to any board game podcast other than your own. I listen to them every once in a while. Do you remember when Games Workshop miniatures were more cartoony and fun? No, I don't remember that at all. It's a big week in wrestling because WWE SmackDown is headed to Fox, and there's a new league, All Elite Wrestling, debuting on TNT. Oh. The best realistic baseball board game? I don't know. A realistic baseball board game? Something like Status Pro Baseball or whatever. I just haven't played any of those in a long time, so I wouldn't know. To make custom cards for faces. Oh, I did make custom cards. Sure, and that was also a long time ago. It's been a really long time since I made custom cards. But I really hate the white cards that come in the game. I don't want to write something on it. It just seems weird. You flip it over. It de-immersifies me. It's the opposite of immerses. It de-immerses me. See the card come up and, oh, there's the card Tom wrote. Do you know if Critical Master Essentials will release more content in the future? Heard from them, so I don't know. I don't know if it's sold enough to warrant more coming in. What's a good game that you'd recommend that's similar to Warrior Knights? Warrior Knights is a big, grandiose game, which unfortunately I don't know if there's one that I could recommend that would take its place. Rurik, which came out recently, is kind of a very simplified version of Warrior Knights. But if you want that big overall Twilight Imperium feeling, I don't know if there is one. Oh, I got a thumbs down on my reactions. I'm so sorry. What did I do? Have you participated in a math trade or have an opinion on them? Is it worth the process or just easier to buy and sell instead of trading? Okay, so math trades are, you know, I love math, but I'm still kind of mind-boggled how the math trade works. I get the general gist of it. The gist is if I have game A and you have game B, we could trade each other. I'll trade you my game for your game. But then how often is that going to happen? But then Sam has game C, so I trade you game A, you trade Sam game B, gives game C to me. It's a three-way trade. Math is like that, but with hundreds of people involved. Computer do it all. You go in, you say, these are the games that I have for trade. You put them all on there. And then for each game that you trade, you say, I am willing to trade it for this game. Then the computer goes, bloop, bloop, and it says, you need to give these games to these people, and you'll get these games from these people. And sometimes math trades are done online. You send out the games to get the other games, and sometimes they're done in person. When done in person, I found that for myself, and again, this is me, be long, confusing, and not tremendously fun. It's a little easier for me if you're trading with Tom Vassell. There's a good chance that you know who I am. But since most people are, people have signs, they hold them up, they walk around. In the past, some buy here at a certain time and get it, and I had to get them, I had to give them to other people carrying games around, trading them. I mean, it worked out okay, I guess, right? But at the end of the day, I kind of wished I hadn't done it. I did it like times, and each time it was just this constant, oh, that's right, I need to give this game to that person. And then sometimes you just go into a room, and then everyone's at each other. They're fun to watch when you're not part of one. But I think they're fantastic, by the way. For me, the person thing, it just takes up a good chunk of. What do you do if you catch one cheating? I talked to them about that they shouldn't be cheating, but I guess we're talking about kids because I don't normally catch cheating. Publishers preparing for the tariffs. In the industry, we're moving production to other Asian countries. I wonder if board game publishers are doing the same. You would have to ask each of the publishers themselves. I have talked to a few of them about it, but not at great length. That the ones who are smart are probably making preparations somehow. How far in advance do you schedule out your video segments that are off the cuff? You allocate time for that kind of video in your schedule. So I have videos here scheduled to November 10th. Now, that doesn't mean that the specific video is scheduled. It just means they're the videos that go up on that day. For me, a lot of them say Tom's reviewing a game, but it doesn't say what game I'm reviewing. I'll fill those in now. Like, for fill in here tomorrow at 4:30, my reviews Paladins of the West Kingdom. So I'm typing that in there, and then I type in my rating of the game, 2, and then we go back. See? Easy. I normally schedule my reviews out more than a week in advance because I want to have that fluidity to review different reviews. Try to, if you watch my reviews, you'll notice that I deliberately will read games that are not a big deal. Like, so there's 4 games there. I mentioned one, into the West Kingdom. 2 of them you have probably heard of, and the third you may have heard of, but it's not a big game. And the other reviews that I'm doing this week, some of them you have heard of are big games, and some of them you haven't. I like to scatter them across with each other because I don't ever want to just review the big games. Have you ever considered doing international branches of the Dice Tower, for example, in Spanish? Maybe. The problem with doing something in another language is I would have no control over it, I would not be able to watch it or say, oh, I don't really like it, because I wouldn't understand it. Will the Dice Tower have a booth at PAX Unplugged this year? Well, I just sent them a check, so If you could turn into an animal at will, what would it be and why? I don't. I wouldn't turn into an insect because I'm worried that I get killed. I guess some sort of eagle so that I could fly then. I think flying would be cool. I could fly from one spot to another. Yeah, I can't think of another reason to be an animal at all. I'd be too worried about getting killed by the animal kingdom. Was it an earth pretzel or an off-world alien? I didn't say pretzel, it's a pretzel. Slightly different. And have you ever seen one of them on another planet? All the additions to the Dice Tower library, are these all really going to be on a Dice Tower cruise? Yes, they are. Are you using a laptop or a tablet? I'm using both. The tablet and this is the laptop. Have you thought about the PAX South in San Antonio or having a Dice Tower South Con in the future? Well, I think we're okay with Dice Tower West and East now. I'm not putting any more Dice Tower Con in America at the moment, or even have any kind of thoughts in that regard. Going to PAX B, but as it is, we're really going to too many conventions as it is. I need to actually do Dice Tower work for people. So you'll probably see us go to less conventions in the future rather than. Have you heard any news on Pandemic Legacy Season 3? I have. Can someone make a game about Chief Soto and his adventures? I think Eric Lang was interested. I doubt he was. How did Becca Scott end up helping to check out Moonrakers? I think Mark just asked her and she said yes. Any plans for more crossovers with Geek and Sundry? We can hope so, right? When you make your daily walks, do you listen to music or podcasts? Well, when I make my daily walk in the morning with my wife, I don't listen to anything because I'm with my wife. When I walk elsewise, it all depends. I read on a straight path with not crossing streets. Sometimes I listen to music and sometimes I listen to podcasts. It all depends what I'm in the mood for. Do you think reviewers should share how many times they played the game before sharing the reviews? And let the viewer decide if it's enough. No, I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because no matter it's not enough if it's a negative review. If it's a positive review, no one really cares. But if it's a negative review at all, doesn't matter how many times you played, you didn't play enough. I'm getting a lot of problems with the feed. I'm not really sure what is causing that, everyone. Alrighty, so I'm going to see what I can do here about feed. Yeah, it's choppy. Alrighty, well, you know what? Because of that, I'm just going to end this a little early. And we're going to try to work on this so this isn't a problem. I don't know what's causing the problem. I think it's maybe on the computer endings. Putting the thing up on the screen, it worked in the past, but maybe we're just getting that speed today. So we'll try to have this fixed by tomorrow, Tuesday. So I might even be able to hear this if it's stuttering at all. So we're going to just end this here then. So I apologize about that. We'll have this fixed for next week, or my attempt is to get it fixed. And we'll see what the problem is. With live stuff in general, factors that can go wrong, and anytime they go wrong, everyone gets mad at you because you did a very poor job streaming, when it could be a variety of factors: internet, computer not working properly, etc. So sorry about that, everybody, but the good news, there will be more videos on their way, so keep an eye on that. If you didn't watch Board Game Breakfast, go ahead and watch that. But until next time, I'm Tom Vassell, and you've been watching live Q&A, choppy live Q&A on the Dice Tower. We'll see y'all next time. Doo-doo-doo.